where they just get a lot of really amazing cosplayers, which everybody here in our audience as well are amazing. And Mario hat over there is like, eh.
I'm not counting myself.
I don't know, your knitted hat is super freaking dope. So
I just think I have style, but I'm not.
you definitely have style. All right. Sorry, I just drank most of my coffee. The rest is on the floor. I got this. Okay. Yeah. So we ask questions and whatnot. I'm going to start with some pre-created questions, as well as some from the Cosplay Stitch and Scene Facebook group. Cosplay Stitch and Scene is a podcast. This panel is being recorded for an episode, so it is an episode. There we go. And it's a kind of a last-second thrown-in thing. When we get to the part with audience questions, that'll be. And at any time you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not going to stop you if it's like in the middle of something. Like I'm not going to be like, you can't ask questions. Go ahead and ask questions at any time to elaborate on anything. I'm A-okay with that. All right. Let's have our panelists introduce themselves. We'll start on the long end. Over here.
Oh. Hey. I was not prepared for that.
Sorry.
I'm Turtle Bunny's Cosplay. I've been cosplaying for a very long time, and I'm a last-minute addition to this panel, so hi. Yeah, mostly local stuff. I run the Utah Nihon Matsuri Cosplay Contest as well, if anybody has done that. And yeah, I'm feeling very humbled and honored to be at this table with so many awesome people.
I'm Winter Fox Cosplay. I've been cosplaying since about 2012, 2013. I actually don't remember what year it was. I just know it's that area. I specialize in makeup, so I play along with colors, different formulas. I started my own brand for cosplayers, and now I'm here.
I am Miss Relina Cosplay. I have been cosplaying a very long time. I was cosplaying when these things were held in gyms and there was lights on and lights off and people were lucky. And now we have like special effects and light cues and videos. It's crazy. I compete and have judged all over the country, and I've competed and won awards at AX, here, and all over Vegas and California, and I've judged on the East Coast and all over the place. And then I also run the cosplay contest here at Anime Banzai. Yay! And so I'm just really thrilled to be here with all of these amazing, wonderful people. So that's me.
Hello. I'm Midnight Persona. I didn't realize this was on. I'm Midnight Persona. I'm a Vegas-based cosplayer. I've been cosplaying since 2009, 2010. I like to compete a lot, but when I compete, you'll know it's me because I do really dumb skits. No, I mean my goal is to make people fall out and like head bang or like, I just want to see the audience
You
lose it.
handing out those CDs, that was
I'll talk about that later. Yeah, so I love competing and I stand for plus size diversity and POC cosplayers and try to spread awareness, and I am an avid TikToker even though I love and hate that app so much. But yeah.
I'm V-Fire. I'm moderating the panel, but I am one of the co-hosts for the Cosplay Stitch and Scene with Hannah over here and David over there in the audience, who is absolutely wonderful. And I've been cosplaying for a while now, since 2008, and compete all over the western United States. One day I'll get to the east, it'll be really fun.
it's a totally different vibe, I'll tell you that right now.
Ooh.
No, it's not bad, it's just different.
Let's go.
Yes, let's do it.
I recommend an amazement. Shameless plug.
But yeah, I've both judged and competed and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love our community, and that's why I put this panel together.
I'm Cannon. I've been cosplaying for, I think, 20 years this year. Yay!
So this is 2001, and gosh, I have probably made about 300 costumes. I think I counted last, it was almost 60 awards nationwide. I've represented the U.S. twice abroad, once in Japan for World Cosplay Summit, and once in the Netherlands as part of the C4 competition. So I've done a lot of judging, and and I run the masquerade at ALA.
Yeah, all right, so I'm going to start just a warm-up question. What was your first cosplay experience? So that first time that you were either introduced to it, or the first time that you wore a cosplay, how was that for you? For me,
Does that count before we knew cosplay was a thing?
it could be even before you knew cosplay was a thing. You know, like for me, it was one of my friends dragging me to video games live and being like, you have to wear a costume to it. I'm like, okay. And then realizing that what I had been doing all my life when I went to movies in costume and all that stuff was cosplay. It was really cool. It was a really good experience. It got me addicted to it. So I gotta love those first time drug uses. I mean, anti-drug uses. Yes, I spent more money on cosplay.
No, look at my bag, look at my bag. Anime, drugs would be cheaper.
Yes. So let's go ahead. We're gonna start again.
So the question is, what was
your first cosplay experience?
Oh geez, cosplay experience. Well, I think I talked about my first cosplay experience a little bit in our last panel. So I'm going to talk about my first time I had made one myself.
Yes.
And that was, I was going to tell you how long ago it was. It was at the premiere of the Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings first movie in the trilogy. And I went as Legolas and, braided my own hair and got these like elf ears. I had to go all over Salt Lake Valley looking for like, do you guys have elf ears? And they're like, we have Spock ears. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Braided my mom's fabric closet. She does a lot of quilting, and I found like a little bit of green suede and like some crazy scraps and things she wasn't using here and there. And I kind of just like put it together to the best of my abilities, use like a t-shirt to like trace the pattern for what the tunic should look like. And I don't know, it was really exciting. It was like they did a like tiny little mini costume contest because they did a midnight showing for the debut. And it was like a very small group the first time the movie came out, so it was kind of a unique experience. But there were only probably 5 or 6 of us there in costume. And I actually got like a couple copies of the novels for the costume contest. So it was a lot of fun. It was a really good experience.
My very first time seeing cosplay is I went to Anime Vegas years ago, and I just walked in and was just like, there are people in costume, and like lost my mind because it was so exciting because I already knew how to sew a little bit. And then when people were like, oh yeah, you just make costumes and go out there, and I'm like, this is a thing outside of Halloween, and got super excited. And my very first cosplay was Kieran from Little Alchemist, who was in like 2 episodes back then. And I was so excited, I grabbed a random glove and just painted it silver and was like, I'm gonna find every Edward Elric I can find, and got super excited. And like, it was such a blast because being able to use a skill set I already had and just be in costume was so much fun.
My first cosplay, it was before I knew what cosplay, was a thing. I was in junior high and I rode a brontosaurus to school. In my junior high, as long as you weren't wearing a mask, you could wear a costume on Halloween. I don't know if they still do that. Yeah, it's a pre-Columbine, obviously, because I'm riding brontosauruses. And I was looking at the costumes available, and I hated them. I'm like, I'm not a Spider-Man fan. I'm not a Batwoman, Batgirl thing. It wasn't my thing. And my mom sewed, and I was trying really hard to learn how. Because, I like the clothes, an odd child and wanted something that they just didn't make. I'm like, no, that fabric's bleh. Why is it that color? Because, neon was a thing on our brontosauruses, and neon was not my thing. So I was learning how to sew because I wanted things that I liked to wear, rather than what the stores said I should wear. And so my thing that I was into in junior high was Elf Quest by Wendy and Richard Denise.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there are Elf Quest fans here. And I have, and I as I've gotten older, it's kind of toned down, but I have a turned up nose like Cutter does. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do Cutter for my college. My friends were all in on it. We had a Kavi, and we had Alita, and she was so excited to be represented. She was the only person of color in our junior high, because I'm from Idaho, which is, pasty as the snow there. And she was so excited. She's like, look, there's this amazing, strong female character that is a person of color. So she was Lita, only we had to fill it in because our junior high wouldn't let the midriff being shown, because, junior high. And we were this huge group, and of course no one outside of our group knew who we were. But I'm Cutter, and if you know anything about Cutter, he's always bare-chested. And so, and I didn't know what my name was, I'm 13. So I found the one costume where he wears a shirt. And that is in the second book, when he's in the Sun Village, he wears this big, flowy poet shirt that kimono folds in the front. And it immediately gets ripped off by an attacking troll, six panels in, because
You can't cover up that.
you can't cover up the abs. I mean, come on, it's Cutter's abs. So, but I'm like, it's canon, it's there, he wears a shirt. So we worked so hard. It was my first experience with faux fur, faux leather, with linen. Oh man, and here I am, 13, going, why am I doing this to myself? But man, we're walking around and nobody knows who we are, but who cares? And then I found out that there were conventions where people do this on purpose. Oh, my mind was blown. I walked into, my first con was an Anime Vegas. And it was actually the first year when it was free, and it was a one-day thing because they just wanted to make sure there were enough nerds to have a con. We walked in, and there were all these other people in costumes, and I was in Miss Kaoru from Rurouni Kenshin. I was in a kimono and everything. And I walked in, and I was like, my people are here! Oh my goodness! And I had been talking to going by a friend who'd gone to San Diego Comic-Con the year before, and she walked into there, and that was massive amounts of people, and she's like, I have returned to my tribe. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. She's like, no, you don't understand. So I walked in and I'm like, I know the feeling. I am here with other nerds who understand my pain. So that was my first cosplay, junior high, and then being just super overwhelmed by seeing other people doing the same thing and knowing it was an actual culture.
Mine's not as exciting. Mine honestly just starts with Kingdom Hearts 2. It was the first PlayStation game I ever played way back in 2006, 2007. And I just wanted to be Roxas so bad. And my mom knew that I wanted to be Roxas. She had no idea what it was, what Kingdom Hearts was, who this character was. And I just remember just begging her every year for Halloween, I want to be Roxas, I want to be Roxas. And she's like, I don't know what that is. I was like, well,
understand.
Figure it out, because I want to be Roxas. So Salt Lake announces they're going to have their first Comic-Con, and it's around Christmas time, and I was like, man, I would love to go to that. So sure enough, my mom had bought me a Roxas costume and a gold pass for FanX, or not FanX, it was Comic-Con at the time. Yeah, so it's super tender. She was actually here today just because she wanted to see the booth for a little bit. So I got some pictures with my mom.
Yay!
But we went over to Comic-Con. I had done like a closet Mad Hatter. I'd go to Roxas, just some fun little stuff. And I remember when I was in Roxas, there was a Kyrie following around. And she was just, following around the whole convention. She was too afraid to come say hi. And I had this awful wig. My mom bought like a pre-styled wig from Amazon. It is awful. I still have it. It's in the closet somewhere.
Example of what not to do.
Yeah, it was like pre-teased. I didn't know how to style wigs. I still struggle with wigs. I shake my head and, put hair into places and that's good enough, right? But I remember I saw the picture of us together too. She came up and I was wearing a Link hat with this wig because it wasn't styled. And she's like, "Can I please get a picture?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And in my 16-year-old, 15-year-old brain, I was like, "I'm famous now." So I just kept pushing forward and like got to experience a lot more of the cosplay world. And I'm very happy that I got to experience everything because I wouldn't have all these amazing friends.
So this question unlocked a chain of hidden memories.
I hope they were good.
I don't know. There were things I didn't realize I'd repressed until I was trying to think of an answer to this question as I went down the road. So I'm going to take you guys along the journey with me. So my first thought was the second ever anime Banzai. Not the first ever anime Banzai, but the second ever anime Banzai. I wore this moose costume from Ranma 1/2. And it was not my best work, but I was very proud of it. I had like just taken like Elmer's glue, and glued the like symbol on the chest. And I think that the black on the cuffs was made of carpet. I'm not exaggerating. And yeah, so it was, but I loved it. I had a great time. And the thing that I will always remember is I walked in to Anime Banzai and someone recognized me right away. And I, you know, as the person who was at school, the only person who like specifically liked Ranma 1/2 and Meizani Koku and all of that stuff, Miku Takahashi, I was amazed that there were people who knew who I was and asked for my picture. So I was like, that's the first memory I remember, and then it unlocked one. Why did I have that moose costume? Well, I had made it a year before for Spirit Week at my high school, not for Halloween, for Spirit Week, because you were supposed to dress like a superhero.
There you go.
And so I made Moose from Ranma 1/2 and had to explain to everybody who I was. But as you can tell, I'm like really, I'm that person where you're like, oh crap, I asked her. And she's so I was like, let me tell you about what I'm dressed as. So I was like that, and I was like, why was I in the habit of wearing an anime character for Spirit Week? And then I remembered that in junior high, we had also had Spirit Week, and I had done Yamcha from Dragon Ball. And it was worse than Moose, because for his symbols, I just drew them on a paper plate and stapled them to myself.
Oh, you're bringing back memories for me too.
I literally was like, Mom, how do I get this on here? And she was like, I don't know. I made the pants for you. I made the shirt for you. And I was like, I just need to fuse two things together. And I shoved all of the needle and thread and glue off the table and grabbed the stapler. So that was in junior high. And then I was like, when did I start wearing really niche, way too much effort things to very small gatherings where no one was going to recognize me? And I remembered in 5th grade, there was a very small Halloween party that my friends threw. And my mom, who was such a trooper, I told her that for this party of 5 people, I absolutely had to be Xena Warrior Princess. And
that's a lot of effort.
And she did it. Wow. She made me an entire Xena costume. And so there was a whole 5 people, 7 if you count the parents of the people hosting the party. And I won the cosplay contest at this party with my Xena Warrior Princess costume. So that was my first experience with cosplay.
You remind me, you said superhero for Spirit Week and odd costumes. That same year that I was cutter and no one knew who I was. They said superheroes, and again, I enjoy Marvel movies and things like that, but I'm not into spandex if I can get away from it. And so they're like, superhero, and me being the sarcastic twerp that I am, I decided, everybody read Garfield? And occasionally he'll tie his blanket around his neck and he's a superhero. So I got my mom's bright orange sweatsuit, because those were a thing. And I used electrician's tape to create his stripes. And then I tied my own blanket, my own blue blanket, from my bed that my mom had no idea I'd smuggled out, because she told me I had to take it because it would get dirty. I'd smuggled it out in my bag, and people wandered around this Garfield, and people are like, who are you? I'm like, I'm the tape adventure! Yeah, get used to them feels. Yeah.
Superhero Week, or rather Spirit Week, unlocks.
Right.
It gives you an excuse. actually did a Dragon Ball character. I used to take Taekwondo with my brother, and he like fell out of it while I was still doing it. So I took his Taekwondo uniform, put it in the washing machine with a box of orange dye, and then painted over the school's logo with King Kai.
See, it's about the passion, people.
It might not be about the skill level, but it's about passion.
Funny enough, but also unlocked a spirit week for me. Because I did a Tachi, and I just taped on clouds on Tachi. And it had braids at the
Yeah,
time.
you guys are a little bit better.
2 people knew.
And you love them for it.
I'm loving all these unlocked memories. Oh, I'm just like, high school, stay back. Stay there. Stay where it is.
I can't, I was president of
Me too! Yeah!
Oh,
So actually, how we, this is like a quick tangent, but like how we founded Banzai was the anime club at Salt Lake Community College, where I was the president, and I got the like class council together, and that's how we founded Banzai. So, yeah, anime club.
That's how I met my husband.
Why you gotta bring that up?
Hey, I'm my dungeon master. Don't worry about it. Next question.
This poor moderator.
I'm enjoying this one. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, while we're unlocking these memories and whatnot, so what's the hardest part about getting started as a cosplayer, and how does that compare to where you are now?
Can I start?
Yes.
Okay, back with the brontosauruses. When I first started cosplaying, there were no wigs that you could get in weird colors. There were no thermoplastics. There were no anything. You had to like it really made you think outside the box to how on earth am I going to make these things that defy gravity? Thank you, Trinity Black. Oh my gosh, that stuff all just like floats around you and is attached to nothing. It's
Why did you do that?
So I mean, when I competed at San Diego Comic-Con clear back in 2008, I was in way over my head. And we won an award, a craftsmanship award, purely because I believe this isn't canon. Purely because we used so many things in our costumes that were never intended to be costumes that the judge just couldn't say no. Like we were all like, look, see this symbol here? It's actually the bottom of an Easy Mac cup. And this over here, it's supposed to be this little disc that hangs, and we couldn't get it to like not catch on things because it had to be heavier. So there's an actual quarter in there. I sacrificed money for this. And we were just going off on all these crazy things that we did because you couldn't. You couldn't make armor out of thermoplastic. The only thing you had was straight up plastic because craft foam really in sheets wasn't a thing. And you had to use either plastic or actual metal, and you don't want to fly with that crap because it's heavy and they charge you $1 million. So that was the hardest thing is, where are you going to find a bright green wig when they only make natural colored wigs? They don't. You have to dye it. You find out that Sharpies are a thing with hair dyeing, and then you find out that Sharpie will spread all over you when you wear it. That was the hardest thing about getting into because the lack of materials. And now with the things that have been developed purely because of cosplayers. Thermoplastics are a thing because of cosplayers. Multicolored wigs are a thing because of cosplayers, because we're insane. And people like Winter Fox here is like, there is a niche for this. There is a need, and I'm going to fill it. He's doing makeup specifically geared toward cosplayers. And people see a need, feel a need, to bring up an old cartoon memory. But my daughter's passed. I saw that movie more times than I remember. Anyway, but you see a need, you feel the need, and so there are now multiple companies that make each of these things out there, and they've been developed because of cosplay. And then you think, like I talked about, the other hard thing was, I want to do all these cool things with my performance, but you had lights up, lights down, you were probably in the bottom of on the floor of a gym. And now we have all these cool special effects, we have lighting abilities with screens in the background. And so I talk about this with my friends that have also been writing brontosauruses. That the changes that have come and how much the level and the bar is raised every single year. We have people walking, them judging a show, and they say, "Oh, I'm a beginner. I've never done this before." And you're like, "What? You're not a beginner." You think back to your first cosplay and all the things that you did wrong, and your giant hand stitches, and you thought it was brilliant, and then you took it all these minute details that the beginner cosplayers are doing, and I'm just mind blown. I just cannot wrap my brain around it sometimes. That everything is so amazing nowadays. I just love it. I love it. I'm going to off my soapbox.
If I could tag on the other half of resources, because I was at that point of things are just starting to get going, that the internet, there's so many easier resources to find a full turnaround of the character, to find a bag, to find tutorials. Like, I had to go to the library and print out single sheets of the character that I could find screenshots online to be like, okay, I need to do that calf, so I need one sheet here and one sheet here, and pay like 25 cents to get all of these separate papers. Now you can just be like, oh, there's a whole video on how to make that sword, and like check it out and save it on your computer rather than go 5 blocks down to the library and print out each individual sheet. So the internet has been such a big resource for everything.
I don't know, you guys covered it really well, so I'm like, what can I really add to that? Like,
I mean, the only thing I have to say is, like, with stepping stones, I just kind of jumped into it. I didn't know where I was going. I just kind of did it. The following convention after Salt Lake Comic Con, they were like, we're going to have 2 a year, so here's fan eggs. I was really into Attack on Titan. So I wore my Attack on Titan costume to school, which I got permission to leave early from, so in the middle of, like, my health class, I got up and left. And that's actually where I ended up meeting Kieran, because we met at the train station on the way to there. I ended up being friends with her sister first, and then somehow we ended up friends competing together a year, like months later. And it's like, I'm not going to dip my foot because I'm going to trip and just, oh no, I'm doing this now. That's how I got here.
Jump in.
I
Fell in.
was going to add real quick, and then, do you want to go first, comment, or do you want me to?
Whatever.
Okay, I'll be quick. Just tacking on to what you guys have already said, but like the resources for sure, like I feel like it was also helpful because I learned a lot of things I wouldn't have otherwise, because I had to dive in and do research, because I had to learn how to tailor things or how to make a pattern that wasn't quite like the character, but I made it like the character, and I learned how to do like adjustments and tailoring and all that fun stuff. So it was a detriment in some ways, but it also helped us learn like a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you notice the people who are making YouTube videos on how to do this are all the people who still ride dinosaurs. And that's never gonna happen. And they're the ones who had to learn by experimentation and trial and error. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna save you our pain. This is how you do it.
Bless you, thank you. So, I'm gonna get on my soapbox here. I'm actually really happy that I get to end this with a heavy thing. I think that the most important thing and the hardest step to take when you're beginning cosplay is facing your fear about doing it in the first place. Because I will always remember being terrified to walk out onto the con floor once I had deliberately cosplayed. Like when I accidentally cosplayed and thought I was the coolest thing ever, it was like a cool accident. But when I had put something together and was about to show it to people and was worried I was going to look bad or something went wrong. I actually have a good story for this. I did Choji from Naruto, and I didn't realize how hard it would be to draw the spirals in opposite directions on my face. Like I could draw them both in the same direction, but not opposite directions. And I was in the hotel room like bawling over this because I couldn't get the swirls to go the right way. But I finally put the costume on and went anyway because I was an AX and I paid a lot of money to be there. And I was so self-conscious and I was so upset about it. It took me forever to actually get out and go because I was nervous to show my work to strangers. But then the second that you do it, it's very rewarding, and you get to step into a community that you didn't even realize was there for you to be part of. So beginning cosplay, both competition-wise and just con attendance-wise, is taking that first big step to do something scary will be worth it. And then you need to remind yourself, because as you get better, you will hate your work more. That's just how it works. So face
It has to
your...
look like crap before it looks better, and you gotta just accept that it looks
Exactly.
like crap in the moment.
It's just basically, it's a hard thing, do it anyway. Be afraid, but do it anyway. That would be my advice. And I will step off my box.
You guys are wonderful. All right, so now I'm going to pull questions from the Cosplay Stitch and Scene. I think it's our podcast name. The Cosplay Stitch and Scene Facebook group. And again, thank you to the group who helped me in my moment of panic where I'm like, help me with questions. They gave us some really, really great ones. So to start with, we have a question from Winter Fox. Someone commented on it and then went, wait, this is for my panel.
I know. I was like, these would be really good questions. I wonder what this is for. And then I looked at my schedule and I was like, oh no, I think I did myself dirty.
I really liked the first question you asked, how do you stop yourself from burning out? Because a lot of times once you get into cosplay, everyone just goes hard. And you keep going and going and going, and then suddenly you're burnt out. So what do you do to help yourself not burn out?
I would say personally take breaks. I get burnt out every 5 to 7 business minutes. Yeah, I'm burnt out a lot. I don't pace myself. I try to get as much done of anything, whether it's cosplay or work or just like anything that I'm doing. And I've learned that also kind of hinders my performance on what I could actually be doing with it and like my craftsmanship. So I've now come to like a thing where, okay, well, today I'll cut out the fabric and pin it together, and tomorrow I might make some adjustments to it. So for me, it's a lot of just taking breaks and kind of pacing my time out, because if I try to do everything all at once, I'm going to get burnt out and not want to touch the costume, and suddenly I'm crunching in a hotel room after TSA stole my things again.
Oh, TSA.
I'm such a terrible example. If anyone follows my TikTok, it's like a new cosplay every day. And I record all of it in like a day. And then I guess for me it's rewarding myself, because I'll take a, say, Tuesday and Wednesday, make sure I have 3 cosplay planes for each day, record, take pictures, set up my audios, and then I go, when I finish these, I get to play Comfy Grove or Cozy Grove, or I get to play Animal Crossing. So once everything is done, I can sit on the bed with my Isabel plushie and just play Animal Crossing. So I try to reward myself, because I know I push myself way too hard. But when I slow down, I get in a rut, so I have to kind of keep myself going. Then I reward myself with playing video games to kind of relax and chill out.
For me, like I only recently, in the last couple of years, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which made a lot of sense for how I process and do things. But it also helped me like learn better techniques for organizing my time and making good use of that time. And burnout is so real. But one of the things they suggested is to, like Fox was saying, like force yourself to take breaks. And not just that, but like force yourself to step away from these projects for even days, a week at a time, and just do things that you find fun. And I know it makes the fun things sometimes start to feel like a chore, but by the time I was like done with my allotted fun time, I was like, all I want to do is work on it. I just want to work on it. I can't work on it, but I have to do my fun time. I want to work on it. Which doesn't always work well when you're in a crunch time. But for me, when I am like, I have to hit my deadline and it's like right before the con, what has really helped me is using things like music or an episode of something that you like, that you can just put on in the background and go, okay, I'm going to work on my costume just for the duration of this episode, and then I'll at least have worked on it today. And it's a way of tricking my brain into going like, oh yeah, we're just going to do it for the duration of this episode, and then we'll be done, and that we'll be able to check that off the box. But odds are, like by the time I've gotten started, I'm just in a groove, and I will keep going, and it'll be 3 episodes down the line, and I have made a lot more progress than I thought. So it's just a lot of like tips and tricks into like making yourself get into the mood, because you're not always going to be in the mood to do it.
I got some realness again. I'm not here for any practical advice, friends. I am here to be the psychologist, I guess, on the panel, which is, you know, is true crime count as research for psychology? I think for me, this was actually a really good question for me recently, as Sarah knows, because I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia about a year ago, and I've been cosplaying for longer than a year. And I had all of these habits that I was like, all right, you know, 2 weeks before the con is when I do my best work. I'll just kick it out, and it'll be great, and then I'll have it. So with fibro, if you get stressed out, you can put yourself into a flare. And I was stressed out because the con was 2 weeks away. And then I ended up not being able to move for 5 days. So I was like, I had to make a really hard choice. And the choice that I made was to drop out of the contest. And that's really hard for me because the contest is like my favorite part of cons. And I was really excited to be part of the contest because Sarah does an amazing job. And it made me think about a lot of things because I was like, wow, the way that I cosplay is really going to have to change. I can't do what I've always done. And as I was pondering this, staring at my ceiling on 3 heating pads with an ice pack on my face, I thought about, you got to remind yourself while you're trying to break yourself to do this really cool thing, remind yourself why you're doing it. Like, you want to go have fun. I'll always remember, Patty will remember this. There was a competition that her and I were both part of, and we killed ourselves to enter this competition. And we entered the competition, and the performance went spot on perfect, which is like not a thing that happens. And we were given our trophy, and literally the entire group was like, great, good, fine. I'm glad we got something for all this garbage. And then we all went and changed out of our costumes. We weren't happy. We didn't feel satisfied because all we'd done for the last 3 weeks was fight with each other and fight with these costumes. And it was a big mess. And so when you're trying to finish something for a con or for a group or for a contest, and you rob yourself of the joy that you were chasing originally, you're gonna play yourself. So you remind yourself what's fun about cosplay. And it's hard, because a lot of times you'll tell yourself, well, crafting is what's fun. I like to craft. I want to show off my cool thing. That's true. You do. But you have friends there who know that you can craft or who you're excited to craft with. You can hang out with them. You can talk with them. You can reach out to friends and see if you can get help. That's something else too. But don't forget the point. And the point is different for everybody else.
Yeah.
So don't forget the point. And if the point is that you want to be with your friends, you can always do that in another costume or do it another time. It is okay to drop, or I don't drop anything. It's okay to push something off to another con or another experience.
Yes.
It will be worth it for your health, your mental health, and for the costume, because nothing is worse than looking at it going, that was a dream cosplay. And I hate how it looks.
Oh my gosh.
Like when you're just like this, I have been dreaming about this for 10 years.
To segue, go ahead.
No, I was like, I've been dreaming about doing this for 10 years and I finally did it and I never want to look at it again. Is not a good feeling.
See, to segue off that, the way I know I'm getting burned out, because I tend to just push and push, because I'm like, I'm in the groove, I know the thing, is when I stop having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when I would just go every con. Compete, and I'd have a new thing, and it would have to be competition level every time. And it was great, and I had super fun. And I was with my friends, and we all competed together. And then I have a lot stronger sewing background than a lot of them did. I did a lot of theater beforehand. I grew up with sewing, being around it. And so I did costumes for regional professional theater companies before I ever knew about cosplay. And so we would be getting craftsmanship awards. And I would be the one making all the costumes, and that led to some harsh feelings, because they felt like the only one who was actually getting the awards was me. So they would go on to do their group thing, because they felt they could do it at a lower level as long as I wasn't included. And so that made me feel very ostracized, because I wasn't wanted, because I kept blowing the bell curve. And then and that hurt, because that's kind of what I was doing cosplay for, was to be with my friends and have fun with that. thought we were all having a good time together. And they're like, well, we were having fun, you know, hanging out with you and holding the things while you were fitting them, but yeah, no, meh. So I ended up on my own, and I wasn't having fun anymore, and I was lonely, and so I pulled back for a year, because cosplay is for fun. There's play in the word cosplay. If you're not having fun doing it, why are you doing it?
Well, and not to like jump in on that,
No,
you'll
you-
find, like once you get into the cosplay community, you will bump into people who will be really bitter towards cosplay.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Oh,
towards
yeah.
the cosplay
And I don't
community.
ever want to get that
And
way.
they'll be really mad about something they think happened, or like mad at
Perceived
themselves for not
slight.
being as good, or like bitter about events. And like what it comes down to is, if you notice yourself getting to that point where when you're talking about
Take a
cosplay,
step
most
back.
of what you talk about is how disappointing it's been to you or frustrating it's been, it's time to take a step back.
So,
Because you
yeah.
originally got into it because
For
you
fun.
liked it. You
So-
started doing it because it made you happy, and you can get back there.
Yeah.
So you need to step back if it's not giving you that joy, because you can re-find it. Like you can rekindle that joy, you just have to give yourself some perspective.
Yeah, so I took a year off to do that, to give myself perspective. I went to a couple cons, it was weird. I went to a couple cons where I was wearing costumes I already had done, and I wasn't competing, and that was an eye-opener. I'm like, wow, there's like a whole con out there that isn't a green room and isn't judging. Don't get me wrong, the green room is like my favorite part of cosplay competition. It is a party.
It's so fun.
Even with COVID, I think everybody had a good time in the green room. And so I took a step back and realized that, wow, I could actually just watch a costume contest. And it was inspiring because I could see what other people did without the pressure of being into contests. And then I picked a passion project. I picked something that I was dying to do, and it had all kinds of challenging things for me. Things that I had never accomplished or hadn't dreamed of, that I wanted to take time to actually sit and work out how I would create this. And something that I was just dying to cosplay, and it was going to take time. I didn't want to rush it. And I ended up with my Vivaldi Queen of Hearts. And it, and I had to figure out how to make that giant whisk in the heart-shaped whisk in the back stay standing up without having the structure, because that's attached to a bolero. I couldn't have
Oh my
wire
gosh,
go
yeah.
down my back because it's an open back dress that goes low, and then she has a bolero across the back. So I had any of the wires showing coming down, hold it up like you would an Elizabethan whisk, because that's how they did them in Queen Elizabeth the first time. You would show. And that's not how they drew it. I don't think artists understand how fabric works. I really don't.
No.
There's no seams, there's no closures, there's gravity-defying strangeness.
As an artist, I
video games.
Yes, I always appreciate the artists who understand clothing, because you can actually see the seams. I'm like, oh, they get it. They understand my pain. And then you think of artists like, I was playing Thoris, who does all the art book art for Eternity Blood. And he's just kind of the cosplay this. I'm determined that's his brain every time he
It's one of those letters explaining what seams are
Yeah,
to
you're
just
like-
various mangaka
Yeah.
in
PDFs
mass
and sewing
mailing.
tutorials.
Yeah, you want to send them this is how a sewing machine works. Please do that.
Square Enix.
Square Enix.
Belts. Why?
How do they walk in those shoes?
Luckily,
I'm sorry.
they started releasing costume guides
Yes.
with their
Yes,
characters.
yes.
Yeah,
They're starting to do that more often with companies, which is like.
I think they've realized that we're going to cosplay it whether they want us to or not.
Yeah. When Horizon Zero Dawn did that with
But
AOA,
I competed in it. I had a wonderful time. It was the first time I'd ever done a show with Jed Roth. He was running the show. It was my first experience, being in a show with him, because the first time I met him, I was actually a judge. Judging him, that was different. And I got to, just enjoy being in this wonderful dress that I'd put all of my heart and soul into, and took my time with, so it was exactly how I wanted it to look. And I found the fun again. I found the love again. So if you find yourself no longer enjoying it, you find yourself no longer, having fun with it, take a step back. I mean, I have people who are like, oh, well, what if I don't make my costume? Can I still get burned out? Yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You totally can. You're dressed as Itachi, and you're walking through the hallways, and you can't get 10 feet without people getting in your way, without people stepping in your costume, without people wanting pictures. It'll ruin the con for you if you're not prepared for it, or if you're not in the mood for it, and you don't have the spoons, And so you can burn out. You can be like, yeah, I was in this great costume that I purchased and I loved it, but it ruined the con for me.
Or if you're in a group and you always get stuck in the same role, that's something that can be absolutely.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
if
the
you
mom
always
character.
get stuck in the same role, so if you're in a performance group, a dance group, even just a partnership, and you don't get to stretch your wings because people are like, and this is your character.
Yeah, you're the third screen carrier from the left that no one knows because you only show up in 2 panels in the anime, or in the manga, yeah.
Or like for me, they're just kind of like, and here's the big manly one, and I'm like, I do like this.
Kalika's got
But there's
something to
8 other characters, and they're just like, here's yours.
I just wanted to tack on too. I'm kind of currently going through that break, and a year ago, it actually led up to Xehanort. Our group did a huge cosplay, and it was a mess.
Oh no.
And we all got into fights, and we were all so upset with each other. And we all liked the anime, but like, I cosplayed a character that I never wanted to cosplay, but I wanted to be a part of the group. Yeah, and I'm always like, you know, the mom character or the side character, the sister character kind of thing. And I like those characters, but they're characters I never really want to cosplay. I just like them. And so leading up to that, we had all gotten into such a bad fight that we all kind of just quit doing masquerade for a while. And we all separated and started doing things on our own. And I think Xehanort was that. I want to do something so ridiculous that I can use my skills, but also feel like me again. And after I had won Best Journeyman for that competition, and the judges were like...
Dude, you shaved your head.
I shaved my head completely. And the judges were like, we have never seen you shine to the front and show up your talents.
And I'm talking about the shine
Which
of the
is
ball.
crazy.
You just sparkle so much.
And it was so insane to actually feel like I was important and I was a contribution to the group, even though when we do a lot of contests, I write a lot of it, I sing a lot of it, and I put a lot of it together, but I'm always the side character in the back or in the mom. So doing that cosplay brought back that love that I had for writing parodies, for making people laugh, and the best thought or thing I can ever get when I do competitions and I look out to the judges and someone is face planted. I've done it to Heather 3 times.
Yep.
That's like so much joy for me just to see the judges themselves like, I can't, why are you like this?
Why? You hate me.
Yeah, I think like sorry, I keep jumping in. You can totally tell me to shut up. I think one of the biggest, so I was actually just saying, I was like, this shocks me because you sparkle and shine so bright in every room you're in. And so the fact that you didn't feel like you got to share that with us, that was our loss. Oh my God. No, like, I think that's the biggest thing is we all have something that we feel like we can contribute. That's why we do it. And so if you don't feel like you're contributing what you wanted to bring, it's okay to say, hey, I know, I'm trying to think of a group. It's like, hey, I know you guys need, we'll just use the one that happened. I know you guys need a Mori senpai. I know you need one, but I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
You might need to go without or find a different one. If you feel you want to say that, you can. If you feel like you don't care that you wouldn't normally cosplay that and you're just doing it because they're your friends, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with cosplaying something to fill out a group if you're comfortable, but if you're not, speak up, and your friends might be super upset until they get to the con and realize nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if you're missing a Mori.
Yeah.
Like, they really don't. And so it's okay, just speak up for yourself, understand your boundaries, listen to your body, listen to your comfort level. And if you get the cringy squirms about something that you have said you will do, listen to the cringy squirms.
Yes.
They are trying to tell you that you're not happy about something.
So I absolutely love all of this, and it's this last part discussing like playing characters and whatnot is actually going to lead to the next question. But I want to summarize really quick. It's essentially to avoid burnout, know yourself, and get out there and try new things. You know, don't make every convention the same. Try something different each time that helps avoid the burnout. I really love all this. And also make sure that you're cosplaying what you want to cosplay. And that leads into the next question is what inspires or motivates you to cosplay a character? Kalika starts laughing. You go first.
As I've said many times, when it's a competition, it's what's the first thing I can do to make the judges laugh?
Oh, and real quick, this question is from Cassie.
So for competition-wise, it's either how can I make the judges laugh, can I invoke an emotion? So if anytime I look out and the judges look like they're crying or the judges look like they're laughing, then I've accomplished what I want to do.
Yeah, I actually told them in the green room yesterday that no one was allowed to do Bye Bye Brother Free again. Because I cried my makeup up and I looked terrible on stage.
That's one of my favorites.
And that is my legacy.
Oh no, I loved it, but I cried so hard I looked terrible on stage, so no one's allowed to do that ever again.
And then from doing con stuff, a lot of times when I go to conventions, I like the attention and having fun, so I will pick something that might be a series that a lot of people know, just so I can find more people like me. And then like for the last day of con, I always pick something comfortable. So I'll be like, well, like Isabel, I love Isabel, and this is just a sweater. So people saw me all day and I'm like, Isabel, but at the same point, I'm not dying. I'm comfortable. So a lot of the times the things that inspire me are things like, can I make someone laugh with this? Can I make someone's day with this? Can I make someone smile? And can I also just feel comfortable while doing it? You know, I pick very obscure series and characters, like Xehanort was such a, no one's ever done this before, and I'll shave my head. And my husband was like, you need me to what now? Because he sat there shaving my head while doing it, so it's the wow factor or just
I love
something.
how you incorporated him into your skit.
Yeah.
He became like the PR man who was handing out CDs of his single by the character. And the judges, we were just holding this and watching her skit and looking back at the CD and we're like, dying, because we weren't even sure what we were supposed to be doing.
If I could explain that skit really fast. So I was like, all right, something that's a skill set I need to learn how to do, which was fixing hems and getting things proper on my costumes so they looked lined up properly. And I had to make belts and stuff, so I was like, that's a skill set I need to learn, so I'll do that. I picked Xehanort because I was like, he's weird. And I've never done old man makeup like this, and I'll shave my head. And so the whole skit was basically, I was doing a 90s commercial that was promoting songs. So it was like, get your CD today kind of thing. And I parodied a bunch of Disney songs, and like, I think an NSYNC song. And
I still have that CD. I still have it.
And my husband has witnessed me go, okay, so I'm gonna do this and I'm parodying 5 to 6 different songs. We'll just do a small part for stage, but I'm going to parody the entire song. And we're going to put it on a CD, and I'm going to make cover art for the CD. And I'm going to give it to the judges. So I need you to run by and drop them on every judge's face. And he's like, mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, so then we're gonna do this. And I'm gonna go on stage, and I'm gonna do shots, and I'm gonna put on some shades, and they're gonna light up. And he's like,
This is when you know he loves you.
I'm only sad because for that performance, I couldn't find an Organization 13 jacket that fit me in time. If I could have, I would have just been an organization member running back and forth CDs.
And we were dying.
So just
I think we
kidding,
missed half your skit. We were laughing so hard. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it was amazing.
Setting that up was so much fun.
so just
The
doing
days
stuff
leading up to the
that's
performance.
laughter inducing smiles, because the more I see other people laugh and have fun, the more I'm having fun with it. And the amount of people who are just like, you shaved your head. I'm like, it's just that.
But then you look at the game.
For me, like, this came up actually during our cosplay contest one-on-one panel. There was a question about, like, how do you pick a costume for competition? Do you look for something that's really difficult? Do you look for something that involves the techniques you want to use? And, like, on one hand, yes, but I also I pick things I love. I pick characters that inspire me. My friends make fun of me because I always like the same tropey characters and Tommy's just giving me the eye. Just like I can pick which ones she will love, she will I will love. But oftentimes it's just the character, and I'm just so like enamored with the character and how they act and like their backstory or something like that. And you can always make something really amazing, even if it's a simple costume. You can learn new techniques. You can weave things yourself. You can learn specific tailoring things. You can dye the fabrics. Like, there are ways to make a very ordinary feeling costume to a master level craftsmanship. So I don't think it necessarily has to have bells and whistles and moving parts to be something amazing that inspires you. It can just be the character that you love and have a lot of feelings about. I mean, I will definitely say there have been times I have looked at a costume and just been like, I want to do that.
Man, I hope I like that character when they talk.
I want that.
Please don't let this character die. Please don't let this character die.
Eternal begging.
So there's definitely somewhere I'm just like, I want to do that because I want to try this technique, and I've been dying to find a costume that would let me try this technique. But I will say, like, in the long run, the characters that I love and have an emotional attachment to, I have so much a higher success rate in finishing and enjoying competitions with than ones that I picked just because I was like, well, that one's technically difficult and I want to do it. So, I mean, it could be either one. Just pick the one that's going to like inspire your creative side and let you try all kinds of new things. Pick the one that is going to give you the doki dokis in your heart. Happy. Yeah.
Quick, fast add to that too.
Yeah.
When I want to learn new techniques sometimes too, I like making chujinkas or the humanoid versions of like Pokemon and stuff. So I'll be like, well, I really like this Pokemon and I want to learn how to make a ball gown like this. So what if I took a Gengar and turned it into an entire haunted house ball gown?
That is so cool.
And so instead of just being like, that character's pretty, I'll go, that has no design. How do I make it cool?
Oh my gosh, okay, for real. That's been my thing, like, recently, where I've taken video games where the characters are this big and they're pixels. And I'm like, yes, I love this character. I don't see their faces. They don't, because they're itty bitty tiny little pixels. But I've been like, okay, they're in this world. What can I do? You know, like, I look at what I have come to love about cosplays, and I'm putting it into, like, it's scary because I've not done custom designs before, and I'm like, I hope this looks good. But it's exciting at the same time, and I'm enjoying every minute of like just trying new things. You know, so just kind of go with, yeah, what makes the doki dokis in your heart, what makes you feel good, but you feel inspiration suddenly, you're like, that's it, that's what I'm gonna do.
Another thing that is inspiring, but the exact opposite of the doki dokis is the spike costume.
Yes.
The challenge accepted costumes.
Spite is a
Sometimes
powerful
those are
thing.
even more fulfilling than the doki doki costumes. The one I'm wearing right now is a spiked costume. I was told by someone that you could not make an award-winning costume unless you spent thousands of dollars on it, you had 3D printers and resin things, and I'm like,
Watch me.
and they're like, so you will never, and they told me, now that you hit this master's level and you're going nationally to different places, you will never win an award because you can't afford all of those things. And I was like,
Yes.
so, my cosplay partner at A Sandwich Cosplay, who is currently running a panel right now, or she'd be in here. They would be in here. I'm still working on pronouns. I'm sorry if I offend anyone. They would still be in here. But we said, fine, we're going to do, and I have a couple degrees, and one of them happens to be in history. And so I love A Bride Story, which is all about the Silk Road at the beginning of the 1800s, and when the Russians are starting to encroach, and all these different things. And so it covers all these beautiful cultures, and it talks about these cultures, and the costumes are just to die for. So I said, what we're going to do is we are going to do everything as authentically historical as possible. And so we did research to what the symbols in the embroidery are, because embroidery is so important in this manga. It's never been made into an anime, but it's so important because it was important to the culture, because girls and women would spend their whole lives up to their marriage embroidering things that were their dowry, and it was proof that they were worthwhile. They would be a good homemaker, and that they were a good woman. So we ended up, oh my gosh, her costume and my costume each cost less than $200. We have real linens, real cottons, silks. We couldn't do wools because A-Sandwich is allergic to it. And it was we were doing it at AX, the 4th of July weekend in LA. So we don't hate ourselves. So we avoided the wools and things like that. But there is no modern fabric in this costume. I don't have any interfacing. It's all done by starched cheesecloth. It took me 1,000 hours to make this costume. But, I've got all this embroidery, blah, 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 blah. But it was kind of spite. I will do this and show you you are wrong. I will do this and show you you are wrong. It is worth it to me to show you that this is possible. And that anyone can cosplay. It doesn't matter what your background, what your money situation is, what you have available to you. And so we did. We went to AX, and in these costumes, we won Best Overall Construction.
It's a very, very cute performance that lives in my head
Yeah,
rent
Tommy was
free.
back there easing my nerves. I was so stressed out at that point.
You were amazing.
And we decided to include a story in our costumes because the one I'm wearing, the main character Amir, was learning. She was still learning her embroidery. She's been wearing this outfit for a while, and she embroidered it while being on horseback because she's from a horse tribesman. So there are built-in flaws in this costume, whereas a Savage's costume, Amir sews for her tiny husband because she has to marry someone sight unseen, and it ends up being a young boy of 10, and she's 18. But she's so happy about it because he's not this dirty old man that's going to take advantage of her and then die, and she'll be left high and dry. So she's so thrilled, and so he gets ill, and she's so terrified because she just adores him. She's terrified she's going to lose him. So while he's sick in bed with a fever and just, she's sitting next to him around the clock embroidering this new outfit full of safety and health embroidery patterns into it. So hers is flawless, and it has much more wealthy fabrics in it because she's married into a wealthier family. So, and we put this story and we told this story to the judges, and the judges were just like, "Oh, so you did this on purpose? It's wrong on purpose." Well, yes, it is. And and we proved it. We proved that you could do that. So spite is also a great motivation.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a big long story to say.
It's about passion, and spite is like a subclass of passion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just right there.
Well, it's like, what I love about this question so much is just how many, like, you can ask any cosplayer this, and the story will just, like, come through it. Yeah.
I know I had one for that when Melissa and I were doing World Cosplay Summit. It took us 4 years to finally like get the US title. But like in that time, like every year, I swear we had people going, "Well, you're never gonna get it, you're plus size, you're never gonna get it, you're plus size." And we were like, watch us do it.
You were like, "Don't tell me what I can't do."
Yes,
Yeah.
and then 2014 and
Oh,
we did it.
we did it, girl, Martin.
As a side note, I get told that a lot for my skin color, and they're like, "You can't do that because that person is this color," and I go, "Watch me."
Yes.
I've cosplayed with Miku and Junko and all of everyone's favorite waifus, and even Zero Two, who's in a tight suit, just because they're like, "Well, you're plus size and black, so that's not gonna look good." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's happening now. Thank you for adding to my cosplay list."
Really quick, just got a heads up that the room over there is about to get very, very loud. So if anyone wants to move up closer, you are welcome to. Just give me all a heads up. So.
We don't bite, or at least we don't break the skin. We have our shots. Right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna do this thing that I've been wanting to do. Start talking. You're very inspiring to me.
Oh.
Can I just add, I have so many senpais on this panel right now, and I'm like dripping in serotonin.
Now you are the senpai.
Oh God! Too much pressure for that one.
Feel them feels.
Aww. Uh-oh, did anybody lose an SD card? It might be Sudi. Oh, it might be Sudi.
Actually, it's mine.
there.
I think it's mine.
Did it fall out of the video camera bag? What?
You have the pouch open, it is mine. Okay.
Okay.
I'm a smart husband, I promise.
Everybody able to answer that question that wanted to?
Yes.
All right, let's go on to the next one then. All right, so this one is 2 questions from Sakura Rogan and Marianne. They're both kind of asking similar questions, so I kind of wanted to put them together. Is essentially like, how do you plan for a costume? What is your process for figuring out materials, how to create items or cosplays? And I kind of want to start with this one. Because I have something that I was obsessed with doing. Now, I know not everybody can draw, so if you want me to, I will draw for you. I love drawing out everything. A lot of times for my job, I work long and later hours because it's an after-school program versus being in school. And so a lot of times I just don't have time to do this at home. But I'll sit there, I'll just be sketching while also working on stuff for my work and coming up with the layers. I'll start with the bottom layer, be like, okay, what are they wearing? I'll skip the underwear part because underwear is just a given. I hope.
In some
Make
cultures,
no
Some
assumptions.
characters are like, I bet that
There are
one does
some where
not.
you have, like the one I'm wearing, you have to learn the historical underdresses.
Yes. Okay. But that's also super cool. I'm working on a plan right now for a book character
Oh, yes.
that I'm like, I'm gonna do her underwear too.
Underpinnings.
Go big or go home.
But please wear them one way or another.
Oh yes. You probably a little more comfortable if you do. But anyways, I like to just draw every single layer. I'll put on like different layers in I don't use Photoshop, but drawing programs, whichever one I'm using, because I switch between them all the time. And it helps me just kind of like figure out how pieces fit together. And if I'm drawing for somebody else, I'll talk with them too and be like, okay, this character doesn't have a seam because video game designers are weird. Where do you want that seam? And then I'll draw on there for them. I essentially like create their own reference images. And it's so nice to have that because it's now like I can plan now and go out and start buying the materials that I need. So,
Can I
yeah.
add on to that?
Jump out,
I have
go.
to jump out to a meeting in
Yes.
a second. There are also sketchbooks that you can get nowadays that have what's called croquis.
Croquis sketchbooks.
And what it is a pre-drawn like body shape, and you can even get them. I get the ones in plus size.
What?
Yeah, and it's just like some very like sketchy drawn like body types. I'll show it to you later.
I need that. Because I'm
And they're like
all
blanks.
size.
They're like blank models, and you can draw on the model, and it shows a front and a back and a
Look at
side.
that mind blown look.
And I know.
I need this in my
And what I do when I'm starting a project is I will draw layers like you were talking about, but I'll also do like the front, back, and side because it allows me to be like, oh, okay, I already see it on this form, and even if I can't draw very well, I can still
Yes.
go, okay, it's going to hit me right here at this hip, so that's where I want the hem. I'm going to do the sleeve like this, and it wants to be this big or this long. And it's so helpful in planning, especially like for things like Kijinka, like original designs,
Yes.
because it lets me like be creative with like where I want to put like maybe hide an emblem from the character. Maybe I want to like incorporate the Pokemon's number somewhere in there. Maybe I want to like put a gym badge somewhere on the Pokemon's costume. And it just like gives me a chance to sketch everything out and get everything from my brain to the paper. Yeah, I would say that's also usually where I start, is like looking for references, but also it helps me to get it down. What I'm going to do is when I can get it on paper, layer by layer, and just know everything that I'm going to be constructing.
Yes.
Another thing that I like to do when I'm planning out, starting out a costume, is trying to plan out my time management. And I make a to-do list, or so you can mark that, check those boxes off, so you can see how much you have done, but also what you have left to do. And there's a lot of apps. I have the app Cost Planner, and so you can have references on there. You can mark what you do and don't need to do. It'll give you a countdown, which can be really nerve-wracking. I know Sashimi did that, and she's like, "Would you stop counting down?"
I see it in my dreams.
But it also gives you a really good checklist. So you're like, okay, I know this is going to take me a while, so I need to start this first. Or something else I'm going to be able to do really quickly. Or this piece is crucial. If I don't have this done, the costume doesn't happen, so I'm going to work on that first, and I can work through it. So I can visualize my time management, because I've had too many bad experiences of con crunching in the hotel room and not being able to join the con. Because, that you've lost the play, you've lost the fun. It's not worth it anymore. It's just a stress fest, which we all hate. And it can cause flare-ups, or like I have depression and anxiety. And then I end up hating it and I never want to do it again. I never want to see it again, even though it's a quality costume. So you want to, before you ever start, you need to realize, okay, when is my deadline, and I need to plan out. And obviously you're going to have things that go wrong, so they're going to take longer, or things go easier than you thought, and you can adapt from there. But you want to do your time management so that you're not feeling overwhelmed by what you're doing.
And to jump off of what you said, one of the things that I only recently started doing, and I keep smoothing this jacket because this was an example of it, is I had plans. They were great. They were going to be awesome for this costume that I was going to wear. And when it got kind of close, I was like, okay, I had my whole checklist of things that I needed to do for this costume, and I stopped and I was like, I need to make some backup costumes. I need to make sure that if I have to drop, I'm going to have something to wear. So always plan a comfy backup, like something that you're going to wear if you have to drop. And set a date for when, if I hit this date and I'm not done, it's time to drop this project and work on my backup costumes. And I did that this time. And so I just had this comfy jacket that my beautiful friends helped me make. And then I did like a little Raver Pikachu thing. And it was fun to work on it without freaking out about competition. I had a whole week to do it. So I was able to make those two costumes and still wear something at the con, instead of like, you get there, like Sarah was saying, you didn't bring anything except for the thing that you were working on because you were going to wear it, and now you can't wear it, and now you're crying, and you spent money to be here, and it's the worst thing ever.
And it's
So
weird wearing civvies to a con where you didn't plan to wear civvies.
exactly, you didn't want to just wear clothes. You wanted to wear an imaginary person's clothes, and so it's definitely one of the things that I'm going to try and get better at.
That is the best way to phrase that ever. I want to wear an imaginary person's clothes.
You are free to use it.
I'm a little bit weird because, like, I don't know, I can tell how something feels just by staring at it. So with video games and everything, I will stare at a video game character's reference art for hours. And then as soon as we're at a fabric store, I'm touching everything. I'm like, this doesn't feel like what it's supposed to feel like.
This doesn't.
So
I love watching the people that work at fabric stores. When you pick up a fabric and you wave it back and forth. How does this flow? And
right?
And they look at you like you have all these quilter ladies who are looking at you like, why are you doing that to my calico? You don't understand. It waves beautifully.
Well, when we go to the anime expo, we always go to the fashion district. And Kieran has to stop me because I will grab every fabric and I will touch it. And I'm like, this will not flow that same way because it doesn't feel the way that I know it's supposed to feel. And I'm usually right about it, which I hate because I want to be wrong. I want to use this fabric for this thing, but I know that it's not going to flow the right way. So I will put this really pretty color down and be sad about it a day later. And I'm like, it doesn't feel the way that I need it to feel.
And you like hold it and you're like,
yeah.
What can I do to it to change its drape? Can I?
Like the reason I haven't worked on Ardent from Final Fantasy 15 is because I cannot find the right fabric that I know will work for me because I have to touch it before I can use it.
I know this exists.
You know the thing,
Yeah.
you know it exists because
I'm like,
and then if you're like me, like my wife knows the names of all these fabrics. I do not. I'm like, it's like the one where you can see the weave, but you can also feel the weave, but not too much.
I did it to Kieran like every other day. I'm like, what is this? What is this fabric? I know what it feels like, but I don't know what it
I just chase people doing my little like
The little baby fingers.
I want one that does like and not like
yeah, I get it. I get you.
Non-verbal cosplay communication.
Just a small tag on to even designing out your costumes. So I didn't want to sew a costume, but I had this dress that I had made, already used for like duet. And then I was like, I really want to do Persephone for Winter Olympus. Yes. So I sat here and I stared at it and I took a picture of it and then I put it on my iPad. And I could have done it on this too, but I have art stuff. So I just kind of doodled over it, knowing exactly like, oh, this is what I kind of want it to look like because I already know what the dress looks like. So I'm like, it looks like anybody who doesn't know what it is like, why is there just a bunch of pink splotches? I'm like, those are flowers. It's just these flowers.
You're like, shut up, I need it.
So like, that's an easy thing if people don't really like draw or they don't really know. You can just kind of finger paint like, I know that's supposed to be a rose, so that's all that matters. I'll just fix it to me, you know. And I draw, but I'm not new to draw, so I'm just gonna finger paint.
Oh, finger painting's great. As long as it helps you get that idea out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and now you're like, okay, I'm gonna build it.
And I wore that day to here.
I loved it.
So, when was a time, and this question is from Kaylin, When was a time where a skill you developed for cosplay ended up being a lifesaver in a different context? So, example, I do a lot of hand stitching and a lot of leather work. My husband comes up to me and he's like, my work gloves have holes in them. And I was like, I can fix them. I can actually do that. That's cool.
We have the technology.
Yes. I was like, here, give those to me. And I was like, oh, and then, oh, this piece of leather will work and it's soft on the inside. Stitch it. There you go.
I like to play with resins and JB Weld. I will JB Weld anything just because I can, and I have JB Weld handy. Don't leave me in a room with JB Weld at all. That's not safe. And I used to work at a scout camp. I was the aquatics director, so I taught Cub Scouts and kids 11 to 18, just aquatics things. We had this boat, got a massive hole in it, and I was like, I don't know how to fix this. And because of my resin playing with cosplay and everything, I flipped that boat upside down, poured some resin, fiberglass paper, JB welded some of the sides shut, and completely repaired a boat because I was playing with resins a year earlier.
That's awesome.
It was insane.
I actually, because of working on props and things, I helped, we had to tear out our bathtub and redo the plumbing around it and then put it back in. And I'm like, okay, this is how you do the caulking and make it nice and smooth. This is the type of fixture we need. You walk into the Home Depot and they're like, what weird thing do you need today? And I'm like, no, I'm actually using it for what it's intended today. I know what it is. It's the thing with the loopy hole that it's over there. Yeah. And I'm like, you use it for the necklaces? And they're like, that's not what it's for. Okay, well, I know I'm going to use it for what it's for. Where is it? It's over there. Okay, fine. But yeah, I walk in and there's like these 3 ladies that have been working at Home Depot for an eternity. They still ride dinosaurs too. And they come in, they're like, oh, show me the picture of what weird thing you're doing. What is your weird thing today? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing this. Oh, no, my favorite, I actually walked in and said, oh, I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, that's like, you're actually plumbing something. I'm sorry, I disappointed you.
So, question. I'm hard of hearing and I missed the question.
Oh, it is.
What have you learned in a cosplay that saved the day in a real world situation?
Yes.
That's what I put together through context, but I just wanted to confirm, and then I'm apparently going to answer. So once again, I don't like to answer normal questions normally. So I'm sure it's like super obvious to everyone that I'm really shy and like don't like to talk to people. But no, seriously, I am super anxious, and I was going through this time where I needed to get a job, any job, and the job that fell into my lap was actually teaching. And I was like, I am terrified to do this all day, every day, standing in front of people and trying to keep their attention on me. And then I had this moment where I was like, standing in front of people who I don't know, who are openly judging me, who I need to keep their attention on me? Okay, I can do that. And so it was very much the practice on stage. And even though like there were hard days, it was literally this thing where I saw it as a stage. I was like, all right. I straight up did the here I go, time to dance for kindergartners. But it was like, it really helped. I think me before cosplay would have straight up fainted if I had to have a job where I was constantly being looked at by preteens who were waiting to laugh at me. I did kindergarten through 6th grade. It was scary. I did it all at the same time. But yeah, so that was where it saved me.
Relate.
Huh?
Relate.
Yes.
You do it.
I actually, when I got this same job as what she used to do, I was like, Tommy, help me. How do I do this?
How do I dance for the children in a way that teaches them about technology?
Also, why are people using that?
Yes. But I actually remember too when I worked at my call center job for the first time, the first call center job I ever did, I was having a panic attack before I got on the phones because people are scary. You wouldn't know that I feel that way, but it's a thing. And so I was hyperventilating, and this girl who does Ren Fair stuff, who was a friend of mine, came over and she was just like, you're just going to play pretend. You're going to cosplay someone who knows what they're doing right now. And I was like, I can do that. And you literally can. I'm like, oh, I can't be me right now. now, but I'm gonna create this like OC, and I'm gonna cosplay him, and I'm gonna go to work.
Yeah, it's like the phone rings and the ding, I'm on stage and smiling and how can I help you? I'm that one weird chick on the show that's happy. And you're like, yes, I'm happy, here to help you. You yell at me, go ahead, I'm fine with this.
There's
And
that
me,
TikTok
and
where
you're
like
"Ah."
you're staring at the phone going, don't, hello. Yeah.
That's my Disney princess voice.
Well, we have about 20 minutes left? Yes, 20 minutes left. So I want to go ahead and open up to audience questions now. If not, I've got more from the group, but also, any audience questions?
Or I can dance while a bunch of you judge me because I'm an expert at that.
I'll tap.
I got a question. Can I see that dance?
Oh, challenge thrown down. Yeah.
What's y'all's favorite cosplay that you've ever worn?
What's your favorite cosplay that you've ever worn?
My mind immediately jumps to Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
If it'll make it easier, you can do up to 2 cosplays that you've ever done.
What was your favorite cosplay?
Okay, if I can just choose, that's easier. So my favorite, I'll do my favorite competition piece and my favorite not competition.
That's so much easier.
My favorite competition piece has got to be Vivaldi. I mean, she walks into a room before I ever get there. She's this giant red ball gown with this huge heart-shaped whisk in the back, and I had to applique iridescent. What is it called? It's gone now. Thin
Organza?
Thank you, there it is. It's like starts with a vowel letter. Yeah,
It's the fabric that
iridescent
goes
organza.
through.
I had to applique it, a machine stitch around each heart. I did 126 hearts onto velvet.
Ooh.
And you can't use Wonder Under or Heat and Bond on that because the velvet crushes.
You can only use
And it
two.
looks, and so, and it sparkles and it shines, and I've got lace, and I've got pleats, and it's everywhere, And I love wearing it. I love competing in it because she's the queen of hearts. I mean, come on, you can be the worst thing out there and people love you for it. And I love wearing her. My non-competition piece, my favorite non-competition piece has got to be Renge from Oron High School. In her bright yellow cupcake dress. Because I was always that kid in high school that just kind of sat there and watched everybody, and then someone would flip a switch and mention something I loved, like she does with her Otome games, and I'm like, and away I go. And one of these days I'm going to figure out how to have portable motors that spin me up into the air. And I love doing her laugh, and I love being over the top, and I love making fun of the hosts running around in their blue jackets, and just. She's the most freeing cosplay ever, even though those costumes are very restrictive because they've got the puff sleeves and then it's super tight and they've got the weird little cupcake poof going and it's this horrible yellow. Who did that? What animator made that decision? Because they're in the manga, you don't know what color they are. But yeah, cupcake yellow. And I look terrible in yellow, but I love wearing her so much. And she's just so much fun to run around and play, and she's decently comfortable other than the sleeves. So yeah, she's definitely my favorite non-competitive piece.
I think my favorite competitive piece is also my least favorite competitive piece. It's my Monster Hunter Kieran costume because I learned a lot with that costume. It was all pleather. I freehanded every single pattern for that. But then taking it to Holiday Matsuri to compete, TSA stole a bunch of our prop pieces. And so a lot of the hard work that we put into it, because we also handmade the makeup that we wore for
Remind me to
those
tell you
costumes.
my revenge TSA story.
Yes.
We'll do that later.
Did someone say spite?
Somebody say revenge?
I didn't even do it on purpose, but it was a
I'm so down. But yeah, TSA just stole a bunch of our stuff and they broke the pop that I'd handmade. We just finished it the week before. And it was, I still look at the pictures of that costume and I'm like, I'm still not happy that I made that. I mean, I want to remake it eventually, but for what I did for that costume in that short amount of time, I'm very proud of it. And then just non-competition piece, I would say Wanda, because I do love me some Wanda Maximoff, and I just love her character so much, and so to be able to finally get it to drag, because my mom's not very into that scene, and when she found out that I was going to cosplay Wanda, she was like, "Why? You're a man. Like, make a man version of it." I was like, "Well, here's the thing. No. I got lashes for this for a reason. So I didn't, rush shipping this just to, make a male version. I want to be Wanda. I don't want to be a male Wanda. I want to be her. Like, she's this powerful female figure that I want to be." So I spent a lot of time working on the contouring with it because the contour is very, it's different than a lot of more characters that I do because that was the first female character I've ever done. And so I sat there for like a week or two just practicing the contour, where to put the shadows, where to seal, where to put concealer, just everything. And it was by far one of my favorite costumes that I've done. And it's pre-bought too. Like, I love just the quality of the costume that I bought. Like, I love it.
Cool, that makes me happy. There, I'm all like listening, everyone. Like, hey. So we're my favorite competition piece is Butterfree, my shiny Butterfree.
It was so beautiful, but man, it was heartbreaking.
I loved it. So it was one of those dream costumes where I was like, I just want to do a gentleman musketeer style shiny pink Butterfree with rhinestones on it, and I accomplished all those things.
Oh, it was beautiful.
And so I loved the hat. The hat was my favorite part. It has this giant butterfly wing on it, and I feel so fancy and dashing in it. So I love that. And it's probably the only costume, and I've been competing in master's class for a really long time. It's the only costume where I'm like, I like that. I would wear that again in front of humans. That I've competed in because, like I said, I have that thing where I'm like, that served its purpose, and now it's in a box. Runner-up, Thief King Bakura. Runner-up. Because that was really fun, and that was also a dream costume. So, yeah, Butterfree for sure. And then non-competition piece. I forgot about it until I was listening to you guys, and it unlocked another memory. From long ago at Otakon Vegas. Right? I did Bolin from Legend of Korra.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And it was the best because I was just myself. And everyone's like, "Have you guys met that Bolin?" They're just like dropping puns left and right, and like, dancing for people and whatever. And it was the best. Like, people were coming up to me and they're just like, "You're such a good Bolin." And I was like, "Catch me in Rin from Free Tomorrow and you'll see it's just me." But I do have to tell my favorite part about it is somebody had a red panda that was one of those round ones. And I got all of the people who were at the Avatar and Korra gathering, and I lined them up, and I zoomed back, and I had somebody record, and I took it, and I went, "Look guys, I'm Bolin," and I rolled it out. And like troopers, they all just like fell down. And so that one's my favorite. And then I took him apart to make him better when I got home and I never put it back together again.
Future goals.
Dude.
I'm in tie with my competition pieces, but it's been recent stuff because I felt more like myself. Xehanort, obviously, because just
Yes.
and then surprisingly, Junko, or Beta Junko, as a lot of people know, because the confidence and the power behind cosplaying Junko and Shima. It was the first time I had done makeup like crazy, and then I had long red nails, and like it was that moment where people were like, "Who are you?" Because I didn't do makeup at the time really all that much, and then I was like, this one is the one I'm going to learn how to really do glam style makeup, and it also has a good memory. It was in Sabacon where they had more judges and more diversity, and I had won a diversity award for doing a different style of character. And I had other younger Black cosplayers come up to me and go, "I never thought I could cosplay this character, and thank you so much because this is amazing, and I feel like I can actually cosplay from Danganronpa, and I can do this because this looks so good and you look so good." And I was like, okay. And it felt so good to be something. That's another one of those spite cosplays of, well, Junko is a supermodel and you're like, plus size, and I'm like, watch me.
Yes.
And
That you're not.
That kind of attitude won't stop Junko.
and I was like, do you really think as Junko and Ashima I wouldn't do that? And then putting on the TikToks and people see me, because I'm a timid person, so when I do TikToks of Junko, people are like, who is that person because I'm just like laughing and like
Come over here at home.
Yeah. And then as for like non-competition piece, I really adore doing Bowser. Bowser's a comfort character for me, and I've gone to multiple different places with the most simplistic clothes on and the like horns, and I have a mohawk wig that's like red and green on the sides, where people are just like, "Are you Bowser?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're just like, I didn't think I'd see a Bowser today. And then just like some guy, we went to a park, drove by, and was just like, "Are you Bowser?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah!" And he kept driving, and I was just like, "Ah!" Awesome. But Bowser's comfort to me, and he's one of those cosplays that I don't think I look good in male cosplays. And he, a fiery turtle, made me feel really confident in doing male cosplays. So he's very comforting for me, and he gave me a lot of confidence too. Even though he's a giant turtle, made me feel really good at doing male cosplays and making people laugh and like smile and stuff.
My favorite cosplays, I've got a comfort cosplay, but also I think I'm really hot as him. Break. Which I can't wait to cosplay again. We're gonna make it happen.
Are you doing it?
Search this break from Pandora
I
Hearts.
haven't seen Pandora Hearts. That's how me and your sister bonded. Just Pandora Hearts.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. Because she told me, she's like, "Yeah, my sister does Greg," and I was like, I want to do that.
I love him so much. I have had 2 of his outfits. The other one I've taken apart to repattern and remake. I've done the white jacket. I've done the Pandora uniform. I just love walking around with that cane. I'm just like, yes.
The swagger stick.
The swagger stick, yes. And just, I feel powerful. I get flirted with in that. I'm like, yes, thank you. I don't swing that way. Although, there's a funny story with that. So I was walking around his break. This is the first time I ever wore him. And my friend was Oz. And she is gay. But I'm not. But I'm walking around and someone came up to her and was like, "Hey, what's that break? Can I get their phone number?" And my friend, the Oz, goes, "That's a girl." And she goes, "Well, still, can I get her phone number?" And Oz goes, "She don't swing that way, but I do." And I was like, "Ooh, smooth!" I need to find that friend. Talk to them again. Okay, but it's been ages since I've seen them. But since we're picking 2, the other one that I just feel surprisingly powerful in, because like I cosplay a lot of dudes, because I love it. It's fun. But a female character that like just makes me feel incredibly powerful is Aloy.
Yes. I put her on your reward.
I was really appreciative of that. I saw that.
When I see, I don't see the image from the game. I see you.
Oh. That makes me feel.
Aloy's the reason I get to go to cool national parks, so I'm a fan of that one.
Oh yes. But yeah, she just makes me feel powerful and confident, and I don't know, I just love everything about that character, so can't wait for the next game. We have time for one more question. If the audience doesn't have one, I have one. Okay, sweet. What is your dream cosplay?
So I'm actually working on it right now. I adore DC Comics. I grew up on DC, and Batman has just kind of meant a lot to me. Yeah, so Damian Wayne is like, he's kind of there, but Red Hood exists. So I'm currently working on an original design for Red Hood with a helmet pattern that I found, which a friend of mine is currently 3D printing for me. They're so gracious and just doing me that favor to print the helmet. But I'm working on this side design to kind of fit this helmet design. It's kind of like a sentinel, it's more robotic. Ooh. And it might not be like a complicated character, but it's just a character that I identify so much with that it is my dream cosplay. So that is who I want. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. Like, we have a photo shoot planned for it, where it's going to be. We're going to do some urban exploring and kind of do like a stained glass theme with it to try to get the photos that I want in my head to come out and like be like an actual thing. So it's like this photo shoot that's going to come out in like November, December is going to be insane. But I'm very excited to actually do it.
Super excited to see it. See, I keep saying those things sincerely, and then I'm like, oh no, it looks like I'm being like, eh. I'm really psyched.
No,
I'm so psyched to see it. No, I love seeing people do their dream cosplays because a lot of times you feel like you'll never be able to get there when you start out, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is accomplishable.
This is
I'm
my
gonna
fourth
do
time
it.
trying to do it. I've
Yeah.
tried to make that helmet 3 other times.
Yeah.
And every time I get it done, I hate it, so I throw it away. Like, I've made it out of Pepakura, I've tried foam patterns, I've tried Pepakura again with foam. That didn't work out either. So I gave up for a little bit, and I finally came to, I'm going to do this. My friend has a 3D printer. I found this pattern helmet design that I like, so what am I waiting for? There's no reason I should keep waiting.
Good.
So we're going.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
I'm so excited.
It's like, I am also chattering, I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to see that. My wife is super into DC. So, let's see, dream costumes. I have 2 that come to mind. One's been a dream for a really long time. One is a very recent dream, which I found happens. Like, I'm in that weird spot where I'm like, I accidentally did some of mine already. And so Butterfree was one. Like, Butterfree was one of my dream cosplays, and Thief King Bakura was my other dream cosplay that had been there for a really long time. And then the last one is from the Tsubasa art book, Clow Reed's cloak with all the coins on it. And I tried to make it once. And every time I've started, I've been really ambitious about it because I want to make those coins.
Oh, yes.
But I want to make them in a way that they look really cool, but they're not as heavy as coins. And so I start with the coins always, because that makes sense. There's nothing else to the costume, right? Coins. So that one someday, not sure when, lots of fabric. But then the one that I'm currently obsessed with is Niche. It is from a Chinese donghua called Thousand Autumns. And I really want to do Yan Wuxi, who is the bad guy main character. But he's just got all of this beautiful like embroidery and draping on this cloak. And I actually remember zooming in and being like, because that's actually what I originally signed up for the contest in. And then I remember zooming in on the gold and being like, don't be embroidery. Yep, you're embroidery. Okay, nope, not happening. Not if I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. And
Can I do something else instead? Yeah, sure.
I was just like, hey, I was a little ambitious. And she let me switch, and then I was like, hey, I was a little ambitious. And I was like, hey, I was a little assuming I could human.
Your
but-
health is more important than a cosplay contest.
100%.
But no, like, I'm really excited. So half the reason I get excited for costumes is the construction, but the other half is the performance. And so the reason I'm excited for Yan Wuxi, I'm telling everybody, this is the first time I'm revealing this to anyone. No one steal my idea except you can, because that's how cosplay works. Sharing ideas. So crash course in cultivation, like stories, xianxia stories. They use, like cool arrays and stuff to like cast spells, and I was going to use flow toys, so like a sun wheel, or like those really, I can't remember what they're called, but the things that look, you're at a rave and you're like, wee. I was going to use those to do some of these cool cultivation things, but then also the costume is like crazy, and yeah, so I wanted to do those things for Banzai. It didn't happen. I'm going to try for ALA, we'll see.
Do it.
So it's in 3 months, we're going to try. But yeah, so those are my 2 dreams. One very old, one very new. How you doing?
My dream cosplay, I did my first dream cosplay, which was Vivaldi, but it took me a really long time to do it, and to get to the point where I felt I was capable of doing it. My next one is kind of near and dear. It's from Sarah from Star Ocean. And I love her because she's this sweet little thing who, she wears glasses that look just like mine.
Perfect.
It's perfect. She's got, she's just this cute little sweet thing, but she has these gorgeous embroidered bits and pieces, and there's just lots of little details to it. And then she has these lovely, amazing wings. And I've always been stymied in wings. I've made a couple pair, and they've been like, yeah, I like them, they're passable, they're wearable, but they're not what I want to be at a level of. So I'm still working with those sorts of things so that I can create these wings that will expand and flow and not look like they're, on a buzzer beat. Because it just kind of takes the magic out of it for me. So I'm working on developing my skills in some electronics and things like that because I really want to learn how to do that, to what I feel is Justice's cute little character. That isn't even the main character, but she's just so lovely and sweet, and she has my name. So she's kind of a goal that I'm working to get myself to. So she's my dream.
I have a quick top three. Number one is Shantae, half genie hero. And it's not even complicated per se, but it is a body confidence thing because she is a genie and her stomach is out. So it's me getting myself to a point that I feel comfortable being plus size to just be out there or build it in a way that I'm more comfortable with because I also want to learn how to belly dance for it. And couple goal cosplay is I want to do Senna and Lucian from League of Legends, and my husband does Lucian and I do Senna. And it's more complicated because of the gun, because Senna has a cannon. So I have to build a giant cannon, and I want it to light up, and I want to put mist around me because she's made from shadow and all this stuff. And so it's like that's a performance goal kind of thing. And then a craftsmanship goal is I want to do the waltz from Final Fantasy IX. I believe it's the second one that has the wings and the ball gown. Is that 3? Okay, that's 3. I want to do the waltz because ever since I was little and saw that costume, I was like, it's like an evil Vivi, but prettier. And I cosplayed Vivi already, who was a dream cosplay. And I'm like, now I just have to do the grown-up version. And so I want to put that together and get the tattered wings and all that to look really, really good. So that's a crafting thing. Because I want to learn how to make the wings so they look more, natural and cool about it. So yeah.
If you need a thresh, when you guys do set evolution, I'm free.
Give me a thresh.
I love thresh, it's so fun.
What about you?
So I had one that was attached to a dream photo shoot actually. And Silverfire Studios here in the audience who helped make that happen. I love Shadow of the Colossus. Probably heard me on the podcast talk about it before. I'm obsessed with it. It's why I became a game developer. I got to do a shoot with the horse. And it was magical and everything I wanted it to be. And the images will come out. They will come out soon. I keep talking about them because I'm obsessed, but like that. I still whenever I'm feeling down, I'll pull up those photos and I'll just look through them to just give me that serotonin burst. So thank you, Silverfire. I love you.
You broke the cosplay.
I did a cosplay cosplay. I got my pants getting on the horse. I gained a little weight and was like, well, all right, well, they're not gonna let me ride the horse anyways. And then I get there and just get to ride the horse, and I'm like, yes. It'll be worth it. And there's video, you can hear my pants crack.
What point was it but to horse saddle?
Oh, so luckily, my seams on my pants are French seamed, so it just ripped the first seam. So it didn't rip all the way through, thank goodness. But I definitely was like, what?
And there was no saddle.
Yeah, there was no saddle. It was
Bareback.
bareback horse. It was magical. I'm just like, okay. But the next one is eventually, someday, down the line, I want to make the various suit. Specifically, Metroid Prime, I think the third one with the PED suit, and I want to be partially corrupted. It's ambitious. But one day, it's going to be amazing.
Oh, it's a dream.
Yes. My sister, I have a dream. My sister, Rexy Rue, cosplay is going to be Zero Suit Samus for it. We want to trade places on stage kind of thing, and she'll be also halfway corrupted as Zero Suit. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, so Excitement. Yeah, so we are at the end of our time. So before we wrap up, I would like each of you to say your name again and where people can find you on social media, so that way anyone listening to the podcast can come and find you guys. So we'll start right here with Midnight.
Midnight Persona, you can pretty much find me on any piece of social media. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Ko-fi, like anywhere, just Midnight Persona.
I'm Miss Erlina Cosplay. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I'll warn you, I talk about cosplay and books because I am a librarian. One day I will cosplay as Evie the librarian in the Mummy movies.
Yes!
I am a librarian. But so you'll hear about books and you will hear about cosplay. So you have to put up with it. If you don't want to hear about books, skip it. You're welcome.
I'm Winter Fox. You guys can find me on any social media with the handle Winter Fox, but the E is a 3. You can find my cosplay makeup site at foxbeauty.store, and that's Fox with 2 X's.
I'm Turtle Bunnies, and you can find me in your thoughts and in the ether, where I am like Brigadoon, and I only come around for cons.
Nice reference.
Right? I was like, someone please get this. But no, really, I did kind of fall off of social media because of the fibro-diagnosis, but being at Banzai has really made me want to come back. So Turtle Bunnies on Instagram, turtle_bunnies, because someone out there is a thief on Twitter. And on Facebook, but you'll probably, I'm never on that one. So those 2. Feel free to look me up. Everything's 2 years old, but hopefully new stuff.
Yay!
Or, just chant my name 3 times to go to sleep.
We also have a discount code on the Fox Beauty store. If you use code STITCHANDSEAM, all lowercase, all one word, you guys get 10% off your total purchase of anything you buy.
Yes. So take advantage of that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you panelists, thank you audience.
If you came to the cosplay contest and didn't pick up your photo from the photo booth, please come get them. I have them. I don't know if any of you did.
Do I get them?